We are in our 5-day challenge, and this is a very, very, very important time. These 5 steps can literally save lives. Tell us what to do, Freddie.
Yes, so every day there's different things that you can do to try to help prevent suicide. So one of the very first things, and probably the most important thing to do, is to simply ask if someone is struggling with suicide. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean you should tiptoe around the bushes with it? Because sometimes people are scared. I don't want to say the word suicide. The most important thing you can do is simply ask, are you thinking about suicide? And that gives that person a chance to be heard, to be seen, and to know that someone cares enough about them, that someone's acknowledging that they may be going through some form of pain.
So you're debunking the myth, because I told you that I have been reluctant to bring it up to someone before because I didn't want to feel like I was planting the idea.
Actually, research has shown that you actually are not planting that idea. Let's take it out of the suicide conversation. Imagine if you had a horrible day, right? And you are just frustrated and angry, and you're just sort of just in your feelings at the time, and a family member comes home and they just say, hey, how was your day? And then they literally just walk right by and can't tell from your body language or from your tone that you were upset and you needed to be checked in on, right? Well, it's the same thing when talking about suicide. When you go through that, you have a chance to either feel like, wow, I didn't tell you anything, but you still saw me.
You sensed it.
You sensed it. Or you saw me and didn't even see me, and that can actually send someone to spiral even more.
Which takes us to our next point, which is to be there. What does that mean? That doesn't mean you have to always be there physically. It might be someone long distance. It might be a phone call.
Being there is simply be present. Being present and learning what to listen for. We're going to have an entire course talking about learning to listen, because sometimes that's one of our weaknesses. We don't always listen to each other. But learning to listen and being present with that person helps them get out of that isolation and allows them to know that someone truly does love and care about them. Being
there does not mean you're trying to fix them.
No, you cannot fix, especially when we're talking about suicide. There may be some professionals that we need to call in to help in case of emergency, but being there simply means, just like when you're applying CPR, if someone needs CPR, I'm gonna be present with you, but I'm gonna call 911. I'm gonna call a resource to help get you the ongoing treatment that you need. Being there is simply the same thing.
All right, step 3, keep safe.
Keep them safe. If someone has said that they are hurting and they're contemplating suicide, now game is on. I'm gonna make sure I check, one, not only did you say it, but do you have a plan? If there is a plan, now I'm gonna find out, hey, there was a gun or there were pills or whatever they say the plan is. Keeping them safe means I'm removing anything that's in the house or in their vicinity that they could use to execute the plan. And so I'm going to literally keep them safe by making sure I'm getting them from me to the resource that they're gonna need.
And sometimes that might mean bringing in someone else to help with that, especially if they're reluctant to let you help.
I would say that is almost 100% of the time. Now we're going to bring in a professional. That's 911, that's a clinician, that's someone that can help them, because now they've not only acknowledged that I'm really in pain, or I'm really, really tired and I don't know how to fix this, and I have a plan to try to end that pain or allow myself to finally rest. And so we want to make sure that they get the help that they need.
All right, and step 4, connect. Creating connections, because as we know, the root cause right now, the CDC says it, of suicide is a broken connection, the loss of connection.
So they're isolating, and many times you're disconnected from your own purpose and passion. You're disconnected from relationships and other people. And so connecting them to a resource that can help them, connecting them and reconnecting them about life and what it is that they actually want to live for. There was actually a former teammate of mine who had acknowledged that he had a plan of suicide. He had a shotgun and he was going to execute his plan. And it was amazing. In that conversation, he went from talking about that to I asked him about, what do you love? And he said he loves flying airplanes and teaching kids how to fly airplanes. And literally within the conversation, you would see life literally starting to ooze back out of him because he reconnected to his true north, reconnected to a passion that was beyond just what he was going through at the time. So connecting people or reconnecting people to passion and resources is vital.
Did that end well?
He's alive and doing well, married and kids, and everything is doing very, very well for him.
That is awesome. That was an amazing story. All right, step 5, the work isn't done there. You have to follow up.
Following up is probably the most important thing because just because I may feel better now, it doesn't mean that 2 weeks down the road or a month down the road or maybe 6 months down the road, that something else might happen that could send me spiraling. So simply set a reminder on your phone. Hey, let me check in with such and just make sure that they're doing okay. Set a date. Hey, let's go out to dinner. Let's go and do something just to make sure that they know that you care and that you'll be present with them again.
And that follow-up, would you suggest a text, or do you really need to hear their voice to be able to discern what's going on? You suggest a phone call? Do you suggest a surprise visit?
That really should be two-way. Some people prefer text, but if I don't get a text and if that relationship isn't where because in text you don't get tone.
That's right.
And you don't get body language.
That's right.
So hopefully through your conversation and relationship, you'll be able to develop what is normal for both of you. And if I need to hear your voice, then I should be able to pick up the phone or come see you. But at the end of the day, communication is the most important thing, and agreeing what's the best form of communication between the two of you is what's most important.
All right, it's a 5-step challenge. It's a challenge for each and every one of us. Each and every one of us knows someone, or it might be someone watching this right now who feels this way, but knows someone who's suffering.
These are 5 simple ways that can help save lives. And so today we have a chance every single day to be present, to help someone reconnect, to connect them to resources, and to follow up that allows people to know that they're loved and that they're supported.
There's a lot of information there, valuable information. Let's run through those 5 one more time.
So step 1, we're simply going to ask. We're going to ask the person, are they thinking about suicide? Step 2, we're going to be there. We want to make sure that they understand that we are going to be present with them. Step 3, we're going to simply keep them safe. If I know that that person is in the process of considering suicide, I'm going to keep them safe and then make sure that we do step 4, connect them to resources, and even see if there's ways to connect them and reconnect them to their passion and purpose. And then lastly, step 5, we're going to follow up and make sure that they are all okay after we've had that initial conversation.
We are all up to this challenge.
Yes, we are.
And we all need to take this challenge.
Yes, we will.
And we will. Thank you, Freddie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Day 1 in our 5-step challenge, and we start off with ask. What do you ask?
We're simply going to ask the question, are you thinking about suicide?
Use the word suicide.
You have to use the word suicide. I know it's scary. That's probably was one of the most fearful things for me when I initially went down this path of getting trained in this, thinking, I never want to say that word. That's
The
just
S
a
word.
taboo word. Well, you have to say the word. Because otherwise, if I say, hey, are you thinking about hurting yourself? No, I'm not thinking about hurting myself. Oh, are you thinking about, what? Say the word. Because sometimes people haven't really connected the dots that that's what they're actually thinking about doing. Also, there's 2 pieces that's really important in this. Usually when people are contemplating suicide, it's because there's 2 things that they're struggling with: pain or fatigue. And your brain is amazing. Your brain is constantly trying to problem solve and figure out solutions. And unfortunately, sometimes the only solution that some people feel like makes sense is suicide. It's the only way I can think that can end this pain, or it's the only way that I can think that will allow me to finally rest. And so asking the question empowers both of you to actually have a healthy, meaningful conversation about where they really are.
All right, step 1.
We're going to ask.
Ask. Day 2 of our 5-day challenge, and that is to be there.
You know what? I remember one of my mentors once told me that your voice is big in someone's ears. You'd be amazed that your presence actually can transform and help someone who is actually going through and considering suicide. So first of all, don't underestimate your value in your presence. So when we're talking about being there with someone, we're simply saying to be there and to listen. We're not there to fix. We're not there to diagnose. We're not there to do anything other than simply being a present help in a time of need. The only thing that person should be feeling from you is a presence of love and of support and of no judgment. This is probably one of the most vulnerable someone may feel if they feel comfortable enough with you to let you know that they may be considering suicide. That's almost like being spiritually and emotionally bearing themselves. And what are you going to think of me now that you know that I'm thinking about this? And so being there, and creating an opportunity where you are looking at them and dealing with them without any judgment, and allowing them to know that they are safe in your presence allows them to take a step closer towards getting the help that they're going to need.
All right, step 2, be there. All right, we're in day 3 of our 5-day challenge. And number 3, the step you want us to take is to keep them safe.
So right now, let's say you've asked the question and you are committed to being there, like we've talked about in day 1 and day 2. But the person has said they are considering suicide. So now what do I need to do?
A call to action.
So
at this point.
it's huge. Now, game on, right?
Yeah.
So now what's most important is to identify, the next question is, do you have a plan? And if they do have a plan, and they say, hey, I was going to shoot myself with this gun, or I was going to have these pills, or whatever method they were talking about, you're going to remove those weapons, remove the pills, remove whatever, however we need to do that, and coordinate to make sure that we are creating a circle and a community of safety around that person. So that way, even if when you're not there, they think, I think I want to do it, you can't execute the plan. So we're going to keep them safe by removing anything that could hurt them. And this is a mutual plan. This isn't just something that you are doing on your own, but we are agreeing together that is it okay for me to work with you to keep you safe? Now that is huge because now they've just bought into a game plan for life. So I'm gonna keep you safe, but I'm gonna ask, hey, is it okay for us to come up with a game plan to keep you safe?
All right, so number 3.
We're gonna keep you safe.
All right, day 4 in our 5-day challenge. And step 4 is to connect.
So connection is huge. So you've asked a person if they're considering suicide. They've said yes. You decided to be present with them, which was day 2. You are now keeping them safe. And now your job is to connect them to a resource, just like when you're doing CPR and you're doing those compressions, but you're still going to call 911. You're still going to call someone that can help them because that's not your job. You're not a doctor. Well, we're not clinicians. Our job is simply to connect and help get you to a point or to a partner or to a professional that can help them if they have that need. So there's an amazing lifeline, a new number called 988. And so that is if there is a mental health crisis, you can call 988 and get a clinician or a counselor on the phone right now. And so being able to connect them to a resource, that takes the pressure off of you to try to solve everything, but also we're connecting them to the next partner and resource that can help them create a plan of safety.
And you can make that call for them or they can make that call.
I would suggest you make that call for them. Don't just say, hey, here's the number that I think you, I want to make sure that I'm passing that baton and making that referral directly because I want to make sure they are safe and there is a plan for their safety.
Okay, so step 4 is to
Connect them.
All
Yes.
right. We are wrapping up our 5-day challenge, and we're on the 5th challenge, and that is to follow up perhaps the most important one to assure that we get this over the finish line.
Now, all of us have gone through challenges, and as we can acknowledge, you may have good days and bad days. And so in this 5-day challenge, we've talked about you've had a conversation with someone, they had a really bad day, they've acknowledged they were considering suicide, you walked them through a process, you connected them to a resource. But this last step of follow-up is huge because just because we may have connected them to a resource last week or 2 weeks ago, something else could happen that could possibly spiral them again.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that just set a reminder in your phone. Set a date in which, hey, you know what, why don't we have every other week have a phone call, or why don't we meet every month and have lunch? Find some way to have some intentionality around making sure that you're still present with them and that they know they can still experience your unconditional love and support regardless of the highs or the lows that they may experience at any point in time. So following up is probably the most important thing that you can do.
Is there a best practices in terms of the time frame for following up, or a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years? When do you know, okay, they're good? How do you know?
I would say that would be based upon relationship and conversation. If I'm talking to someone and they had a gun that was loaded and they were about to do it, okay, that's a high. I'm going to be checking up every day to make sure you're good. If it's someone said, I was thinking about it, but I really didn't know how. I really, okay, that may not be as high on the escalation scale, but at the end of the day, if you get that tug, I need to call. I need to stop by.
Listen to that voice.
Listen to the voice.
All right, so step 5,
Follow up.